In this video, we're going to be unveiling the secrets behind a $20 million per year e-commerce brand owner, covering everything from how to start a brand, how to scale to 9 figures, how to transition from a dropshipping store to an e-commerce brand, what are the common myths you need to avoid in order to succeed, as well as Black Friday scaling secrets now that we're in Q4.
So we're in Batu Caves now in beautiful Malaysia. It's about the third week of Q4 now. We're being locked in. I'm here with my good friend here, Victor. Victor, tell us a bit about what you do.
I mean, sure. So, I met Sean like 2-3 weeks ago at the Capital Club, and then decided to just come by. So I'm doing Ecom as well. We're moving into building brands. We have one in the supplement and one in health niche that we're looking to just push now during Q4.
What do you think is the biggest change from going from dropshipping to brand?
We've struggled a lot and made like a lot of mistakes. It's very important to clarify, okay, why do you move from dropshipping to brand? If you just have nicer packaging, and you spend a bit more on product, but it doesn't really change the financials, you really just have a more fancy looking dropshipping store. Think of the reason to build the brand, to shift from like an AOV model to like an LTV model. But then the reason, think of what changed when you move into a brand, is you start opening up, essentially think of revenue that doesn't direct come from performance marketing. You have a few different variations of it. One is like returning customers. You can have subscriptions, or you can also start looking at, think of branded sales channels. That's not really possible with dropshipping. For instance, you could go to Amazon. You could go to think of organic content, organic search. And then also with the brand, you get like possibility and opportunity to start essentially using more complex sales funnels. Think of dropshipping is very linear. You push your Facebook ad, they go to your landing page, they buy, you might have email that both sell. But when you have a brand, let's say you have a Valve brand, let's say AG1, they are advertising on the back of taxis, they're advertising on like probably airports, whatever. They are not stupid, they're intelligent. And the reason they're able to do it is, AG1, you see it on the taxi, then you see it on the same ad or the same company on Facebook, then you see it on YouTube, then you search for it on Google, and then you buy. I think that's the major changes to it.
See, a lot of people like gurus tell you, like you start a brand, it's just, you just put a logo on it, get some stock, it's a brand. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you do that, you're just still dropshipping with extra steps.
Correct. We did that same thing. We were like, okay, we're doing good dropshipping, let's just buy up stock, let's buy brand, and it will be good. We moved it to local fulfillment. We increased our COGS by probably 30%. Got like a really solid product, everything was nice. We went to like a branding agency, spent 10K, 15K, like super solid brand. And then customers didn't give a shit, basically. And then for us, what changed with that was, we moved it to Amazon. And then Amazon, there it really started working. It just shows, there's a lot more thought that needs to go into things. I don't think the advice is wrong, but I think it's just, it's like correlated. It's not causality. Basically, they did like good packaging, good branding, but that wasn't the reason that made the brand work. The brand worked because they got returning customer rates or that aspect.
It's very interesting, right? It's like, I think building a brand is more about building a moat. If your end of the day is still dropshipping product, stock, logo, it's pretty much the same thing, right? I'd even argue, even if let's say you sold a dropshipping product, you sell it to like few million a month, you're still dropshipping it, but people come back. That's more of a brand. People actually come back to you. Interesting thing.
It is, and I think it's very important because I think dropshippers get a lot of shit. They're like, think of, if you have like a list of who is respected like in the online, dropshippers is like, basically scammers. There's like, but I think it's like, if you look on it from a pure business perspective, think of dropshipping is actually a very good business model. Because you're very, very flexible, and it's a very, asset-light business. You don't hold any stock, so it's a very, very efficient way of generating capital. When you move from dropshipping to brand, you need to be very careful that you don't break the benefits of the dropshipping and don't take advantage of the brand. You start up, think of doing all of those things, you think of spend 10K on design, you start adding people just to have people on, community managers, think of, you start adding all of those costs, and if they don't translate to revenue, you just have an unprofitable dropshipping business at the end that is like not flexible, you can't pivot, you can't change, you can't be as aggressive. So I think it's like, it takes a lot of thought and deliberation moving from dropshipping to a brand.
Yeah, most brand owners, they end up with too much bloat, right? I think still keeping your team as flexible and lean as well with dropshipping, but transition that into your brand, that's how you really scale, right?
I mean, I think so. I definitely think so. I think it's like, because let's say you're operating with, let's say you do $1 million, 20% gross profit, and then you have 10% is basically your overheads. Then let's say you start brand and you add another 100 grand to your overheads per month. That is basically the same as, you need to think of almost $1 million in revenue to pull that out as profit. So then I think a lot of the times, everyone is focused on scaling, myself included. It's more revenue. But I think a lot of the times, people should be more focused on just fixing things as opposed to scaling them. If you fix the bottleneck, scale comes as a choice, like it comes as a side effect. But if you just try to add more and more stuff to it, but you have the same bottlenecks, it's like you just have an empty bucket that just speaks out.
It's not about just putting in more volume, but finding where you can have leverage.
Correct. And I think that's the game of entrepreneurship, essentially. It's like, just continue to put yourself in position where you get just more and more leverage. I think if you're just starting out, now is basically the best time to start. Q4, anything you launch is basically profitable. Like if you launch something in November, it's almost impossible not to make it profitable. Just run the Black Friday angle, run the sales angle, heavy discounts. And it's basically all you need to do. Basically use that as traction to start, and then you just carry on that momentum for next year. If you already have an existing brand or dropshipping site, one of the things that we've done wrong, last year was we were just going for as much revenue as possible. So we were just scaling our revenue as high as possible. But our profit margin weren't that great, and we had a lot of chargebacks and refunds in January. But the year before, we scaled in December at 4.5 in ROAS. That was our average for the month. Because we had so much payment processing issues that we couldn't scale. But then it's almost, if I take a step back and I look at the profit numbers, revenue was maybe half, but profit was actually, more or less the same. So I think one of the things we're focusing on this Q4 is opposed to thinking, how can we make much money in November, December? We're almost more focusing on, how can we use the increased buying behavior to essentially launch and get a good platform for next year. So now we're spending on we want to expand into new markets, new products, essentially and also sales channels. We want to go into YouTube and some of those channels, essentially just use the buying behavior and use the intensity of November, December, just set us up for scale for 2025.
Yeah, people think Q4 is just, you maximize your revenue, right? But the big brands, they're spending more because they want to acquire more new customers. So
correct, and that's it's just taking the long game. And I think there's a good quote that basically is that the more developed you get, think of the longer time horizons you think about. When I was just starting out, it's daily P&L, basically. Is it the good days? Is the business going well? Is the business going bad? And think of, as the company grows, you also start having projects that, let's say launching on Amazon. You can't do that in a single day. If you do that properly with all the compliance steps, it might take 2 months, 3 months just to get everything that's necessary. So then I think it's when you then start having those longer projects, you then also need to start thinking in longer time frames. So that's why it's you almost still keep the intensity on a day-to-day view, but then make sure that you're not sacrificing of your long-term opportunity for basically cash today, because you might make another 10K today, maximize today, but if you sacrifice 300K a month from 6 months ongoing in the future, then it's just a bad trade to take.
For sure, bro. Thank you so much for the sauce.
Absolutely. Take care.
Sabina, nice to meet
That's you too. You're traveling around here, or what are you doing?
I'm traveling something like this around the area. I come here first to Malaysia and then to Singapore.
Okay, that's cool. For
French
international
fries in my
visa.
hand, but it was close.
yeah.
And Mikey came to me and I started to run back.
It's an effortless game, basically.
All you gotta do is be Victor,
Be blonde in Asia.
From this whole video, you should know that entrepreneurs who are at the top of the game, especially in e-commerce, all just focus on the most basic, simple stuff and how you do it better. Victor himself, although he's already doing still 100 million plus per year, still cold calls his customer to ask them their feedback on their product. And most of you guys aren't even doing that, and you guys aren't even near the level of wealth he's at. But it goes to show that it's just all about the basics, how you can do it more, how you can do it better. And that's exactly what we teach in this channel as well. And inside my private community, people doing over 100K a month, which has people like Victor, who's inside my community actually, along with multiple other 7 to 8 figure per year e-com brand owners looking to scale further. If you guys didn't know, we ourselves work with 8 to 9 figure brands at the agency, running their ads. So we have a good idea of what works, what doesn't. And so far, we've helped about 5 people get to 100K per day this year alone. So if you guys want to join a community to learn, to network with other 8 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, and really just learn how to scale to the next level, not just something short-term, pump and dump, long-term fundamentals that you can actually exit your brand for, the Evolve community is perfect for you. So hop in, let's scale together.